All right, smile lines, you guys. Anybody else have a love-hate relationship with them? Because when I first started doing smile lines, I hated them. I couldn't get them even. So today I'm gonna hopefully show you some tips and tricks, make your smile lines much easier, much crisper, much cleaner, and make you enjoy them a little bit more. So let me get started. I've got my nails all prepped and ready to go. I've pushed back the cuticles, removed the shine, cleansed the nails with Swipe, and applied 2 coats of Protein Bond. So these nails are ready to go. So let's start with our cover pink. When I'm doing my pink and whites, I really like the cover colors because it's gonna give me an opaque color on the nail. It's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to see through that natural nail underneath. And as that nail grows out, you're not gonna see that natural smile line underneath. So with the cover colors, that's actually gonna cover that up and you're gonna get a really good solid color throughout the whole body of the nail. Okay, so we're starting with the cover pink then. When you pick up your product, you're gonna press into your powder, press, press, press. At this point, don't go right into your application. You're gonna wait for about 4 to 5 seconds before you put this pearl on. I'm gonna show you the reason why. So as you pick up your pearl, again, press in, bounce, 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 bounce. If I were to put that right directly onto the nail, you can see that that product is gonna start to run. It's gonna move everywhere that I don't want it to go instead of where I do want it to go. So what I'm gonna do instead, I'm gonna tap my surface of my powder down so I have a nice clean space to pick up my pearl. I'm gonna pick up my pearl, press in, and I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna count in my head 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even up to 5. And then I'm gonna set my pearl down. Now that pearl has started to slightly set a little bit and it's not gonna run as much. It still has enough flow to it to where I can press out my cuticle area and I can get that product nice and thin and tapered at the cuticle, but you can start to see that it's already been flowing just a little bit very slowly down the surface of the nail. I have that nail angled straight down to my table. I don't have it angled here. I have it straight down. So that product is gonna flow down the length of the nail and it's already gonna start to create that smile line for me. I'm gonna wipe out my brush, get my brush back to more of a wedge shape, and then I'm gonna tuck that in on the sides, okay? Again, by letting that product flow, it did a lot of that work for me, so I don't really have to do a ton of work pressing in my smile line, swiping my smile line, cleaning that up. I'm just gonna come in and kind of perfect it. Okay, so I've got my smile line kind of where I want it. Now here's another trick that I really did not understand when I started doing the reverse application. If we look from the free edge, you want that product fairly flat across. You want it even thickness from one side to the other. Okay, so you see it almost even kind of bulges out to the side. Okay, it doesn't have to come off the edge, but it should come at least to the edges. And it should be, again, even all the way across. And like I said, you can go through and just kind of press it out over the top as well, just to get that thickness across. Now here's the mistake a lot of people make, and something that I actually made when I was learning to do the reverse application, is I would come in, I would press with my brush and I would pivot my brush and I would round out the surface of that nail. Because when we're doing nails, we want to have that nice arch and we want to have that nice C curve. So we try to build that in as we're applying our product. When you're working on your smile lines, you don't want to pivot your brush. You want to keep your brush flat across that nail. So again, it's going to give that more flat surface and more bulk right up on your sides, rather than having more of that rounded shape to the nail. Now, the reason that you want to make sure that your product is a little bit wider than you think it should be and a little bit more bulky on these corners here is when you put your form on and you put your white up to the nail, what's going to happen is your white is going to come in and it's going to fill in this space right here. If we put our form on and put our white up to here, it's gonna fill in, but when you go to file with that rounded surface like that, you're gonna end up filing off those little corners, or what I call the little dog ears. So you're gonna end up filing off those little dog ears if you don't put that bulk up. So on this nail where we did build up our sides a little bit more, when we put our white on, it's gonna fill in. When I file, I'm gonna file that bulk of the pink off, but I'm not gonna end up filing off my white. So that's why it's really important. It didn't make sense to me at first, and I kept filing off my corners. So when you build that bulk out, you build that a little thicker on the sides, a little wider, you're not gonna end up filing your white off. Okay. Another trick. Now say we get our product on there and it looks okay, but maybe our smile line isn't even from side to side. First of all, let's measure. Let's make sure that it is even. So I'm gonna just kind of take, either eyeball it or take a file and bring that kind of to the edge and see where your highest point of your smile line is. So I see my highest point is right about there. So give yourself a little bit of a visual. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side and see where my highest point is over there. Over here, it's a little bit higher, okay? So I wanna make sure that I even those little corners out. So I'm gonna take a brand new file. This is the only time I'm gonna tell you not to season your file. There may be one other time, but for the most part, this is the only time I'll tell you not to season your file. With this, I'm going to take my brand new file and I'm going to come in and I'm going to perfect my smile line. So I'm going to bring that lower side up into the corner a little bit more so that it's going to be even with the other side. I'm going to flow all the way through that whole surface without disconnecting my file from the product. Now the reason that I do that is because if you're coming through and you're doing just short strokes, short little choppy strokes, when you put your white on, you're gonna be able to see everywhere you did a stroke of your file. So go through, all the way through, keeping connected. Now, if your file does accidentally break away, that's okay. Just start over again and come through all the way through and stay connected, okay? Same thing there. I kind of broke away a little bit, come back all the way through and stay connected. So again, this way, this way you're gonna get a nice crisp smile line, perfect all the way through, and it's gonna be even from corner to corner. Okay, so if I dust this off now, okay, so now I can see that my highest point is still here, but then I've also brought my highest point here. So now my 2 points are nice and even. So now I know that my smile line is going to be even from corner to corner. So if you look at it from the side, you can see that my cuticle area is nice and thin, but then I've built up kind of a ramp, or that's the start of our arch to our nail. I've built it up fairly thick in that stress area right at our smile line. We want to be able to put our white right up to that pink so that when we file, we're actually going to take down some of that pink, but then it's going to make our smile line nice and crisp. Okay, now here's the trick. If you get your smile line perfect before you put your white on, it doesn't matter what your white looks like when it goes on. It's gonna file out to perfect smile lines, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and put our form on. Then I'm gonna switch to my speed white. I like the speed white because it's a really nice bright white and it sets a little bit faster. If you're working a little bit slower, you can always use the core white. The core white is a little bit of a softer white, but if you like that brighter white, you can use the XXX white in the core. So we're gonna come in with our white, and I'm gonna pick up my pearl just like I was before. This time, instead of waiting, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drain out that liquid onto my towel. Now, what I want to make sure that you guys are doing is actually draining that product. Okay, don't just come in, pick up your pearl, and give it a quick press. Okay, that's not going to drain enough liquid. What we want to do is actually drain a good amount of that liquid out. We want to bring our product more to a clay form. So again, I'm going to pick up my pearl, drain that 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to put that right at the edge of my smile line. Wipe out my brush. I'm going to start pressing that product out from the center, and then I'm going to bring that in up into my corners. Okay? Any product that gets up over the surface, I'm not going to worry about that because anything over the top is going to file out. So I'm just going to bring that up into my corners, press in, press that bulk into the corner, press in, press that bulk into the corner. And then you can start to kind of bring in your shape a little bit more. If you want a little more coffin shape, if you want a little more almond shape, you're just going to bring your brush in a little bit more on the sides. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit more coffin shape. We're going to have a little bit more of an active length. Again, just bringing that in on the sides. Okay, you can see there's just a tiny little gap here. That's probably going to file out just fine, but just to make sure, I'm going to pick up another, just a very small pearl, a fairly wet pearl. This one I'm not going to drain out. This one is just going to be kind of a blender. So any little bits up in that smile line I need to fill in, I can just kind of blend that through. And again, any product that gets up over that pink, don't even worry about it. It's all going to file off. So again, by draining out that product on your towel, that's going to help keep that product from running. If I were to take my pearl, pick it up, and go right onto the form without draining that, what's going to happen, I'll press that down, and that product is going to start to run. And then I would have to come in and I would have to chase it. And most of the time what happens is your brush is going to get gunked up. Because you're chasing that wet product, it tends to kind of stick to your brush a little bit more. And that's where people have issues with their brush getting clogged. Okay, so that's one of the big reasons that we want to make sure that we're draining out that extra liquid so it's not going to run all over the place. So I went ahead and sculpted out another nail body. So on this one, I'm going to show you how to do a glitter application for your free edge. I went through just like we did before. I applied my pink, and again, I used my brand new file to come through those edges to really crisp that up and make sure that it's nice and straight. Now, when you do that, after you do, go through, dust it off. If you feel like you have a little bit of dust around that natural nail, you can always come in with a little bit of swipe on your brush, clean that off, make sure that there's no dust anymore. And if you do use the swipe, come back through with a little bit of your protein bond, just to make sure that you're going to have a really good bond. Just one coat is good at this point. Okay, so I've mixed up a really pretty glitter mix. Now when I'm working with glitter, it's a little bit different than working with the white. With the white, we're just building that whole free edge out of the one solid color. When you're working with a glitter application, you want to lay down your glitter very thin, but then cap that free edge in clear so that when you file, you don't end up filing off that glitter. So same kind of technique. I'm going to pick up my pearl of glitter. I'm going to drain out a little bit of that extra liquid. It's a different consistency than working with white. So you don't need to drain out all of that extra liquid. You want a little bit of that in there to help move your product around. Again though, I'm just going to bring that right up to my smile line. Get my product right into those corners up there. And again, I'm applying this very thin. So you're going to see that there is kind of still a drop down between my pink and my glitter. I'm just going to start to blend that forward. I think I needed a little bit more of my product for the length that we're creating on here, but I'm going to work with what I've got and then I'll add more if I need to. I'm just going to kind of press that out, and I think I'll add just a little bit more. Now I did add quite a bit of glitter to this mix, so it feels like there is a little bit more glitter to it than maybe acrylic. So just make sure that when you are mixing that you do have enough acrylic to support that glitter, but also that you're building that nail and capping it in clear well enough. Okay, so at this point I've got my product, my glitter on there where I want it. I've got it right up to my smile line. And again, if any of that glitter gets up and over your smile line, don't worry about it, because again, that's all going to file out. Okay, so again, just touching right up to my smile, get my product how I want. Now I'm just going to overlay that extension. I don't need to put any clear over the pink. I just need to overlay my glitter. So I'm going to come in with my speed clear right up to my smile line, and I'm going to tuck that all the way up into those corners, capping everywhere that I've got clear, or everywhere that I've got that glitter. And this is going to seal in our glitter so that when I do file, I'm not going to file off any of my glitter. And again, anything that's up over the pink, any of that clear, any of the glitter, it's all going to file off. So I'm just pressing out my product, bringing that down to cap all the way to the end. Kind of tucking in a little bit more on my sides, making sure that I'm keeping my sides straight, using the edge of my brush to tuck those in. And I think we've got our shaping about where I want it. Just clean up that free edge a little bit and just blend through. All right, so you guys, I'm gonna finish up our nails here. I'll finish out this set and then I'll show you the final results.
Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe to the channel now. Subscribe to the channel.